The boy's voice was thin as paper, trembling in the bright afternoon air, and yet it sliced through the polished glass entrance like a blade. He stood barefoot near the trash bins, holding a crumpled plastic bag, his eyes lifted not in demand but in quiet apology, asking if someone could share expired bread because his mommy had not eaten since yesterday. At that exact moment, a black luxury car stopped at the curb, and a single father who happened to be the city's most untouchable CEO stepped out, unaware that his life was about to fracture and rebuild itself in the span of a single day. Before the story unfolds further, take a moment to pause. If you believe that kindness deserves a second chance, that small mercies can change entire destinies, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Gentle Hearts. Your support helps stories like this reach those who need them most. The man walking through the revolving doors was named Adrian Crosswell, a name printed on skyscrapers and whispered in boardrooms. He was known for ruthless efficiency, a tight schedule, and a life mapped in 5-minute increments. Since his wife's death 3 years earlier, his world had narrowed to profit margins and the quiet obligation of raising his 6-year-old son, Noah, whom he saw mostly at night under soft lamps and unfinished bedtime stories. That afternoon sun reflected off the marble floors as Adrian moved forward, phone pressed to his ear, discussing a merger that would swallow 3 companies whole. He did not notice the boy at first. He almost never noticed anything that did not fit inside a quarterly report. The boy, whose name was Micah, had learned early how to become invisible. He knew how to stand where security guards would pretend not to see him, how to ask in a voice soft enough not to anger, and how to accept refusal with a nod that looked like gratitude. His mother, Alina, waited 2 blocks away in a shuttered bakery that smelled of dust and yesterday's yeast. Once it had been a place of laughter and warm mornings. Now it was shelter from the sun, her strength draining faster than her hope. She had skipped meals so Micah could eat, but even love has limits when the cupboards are empty. The afternoon was hot, the kind of heat that makes hunger sharper and patience thinner. Micah's stomach hurt, but he was more afraid of the look in his mother's eyes when she pretended not to be hungry. That fear pushed him forward, closer to the bins where restaurants tossed away food that had crossed a printed date. He had asked 3 people already. Most had avoided his eyes. One had scolded him. When Adrian stepped out of the car, Micah tried once more, not knowing who the man was, only seeing the polished shoes and thinking they might belong to someone who would not shout. Adrian heard the words as background noise at first, another fragment of the city bleeding into his thoughts. Then the phrase settled in, heavy and wrong, about a mother who had not eaten and bread that was expired. Something in his chest tightened, an old memory stirring of hospital corridors and machines beeping as his wife faded, refusing food because it tasted like nothing. His steps slowed. The call on his phone kept going, numbers and assurances, but his attention slipped. He looked down and saw the boy properly for the first time, the dirt on his knees, the careful way he held himself, as if apologizing for existing. Security shifted, ready to intervene, but Adrian raised a hand without thinking. He ended the call. The world felt quieter, sharper, like someone had turned up the contrast. The boy did not beg. He did not cry. He simply waited, eyes steady, as if rejection was the natural order of things. Adrian felt something unfamiliar and uncomfortable, a pull that had nothing to do with strategy or control. He asked where the boy's mother was, not with authority but with a gentleness that surprised even him. What followed was not dramatic in the way newspapers like, but it was seismic. Adrian walked with Micah through sunlit streets, past shops he had never noticed despite owning half the block. He saw the city at eye level, saw how high the curbs were when shoes were too big or missing. The bakery was dim but cool, dust motes floating like suspended time. Alina tried to stand when they entered, pride warring with exhaustion. She recognized the suit, the posture, and fear flickered across her face, but Micah's presence grounded her. Adrian listened. He listened to a story of layoffs after a fire, of insurance claims that never paid out, of savings that vanished into medical bills. He listened to a mother who refused to sound bitter and a child who had learned responsibility too early. The CEO who commanded rooms of hundreds found himself silent, hands clenched, because there was nothing efficient about suffering. He arranged food first, real food, not scraps, delivered within the hour. He arranged medical care without calling it charity. He left contact information, not a promise, and walked back into the sun changed in a way he could not yet name. The days that followed were restless. Adrian could not forget Micah's careful voice or Alina's tired smile. He watched Noah eat breakfast one morning and felt shame cut through him, sharp but clarifying. He began asking questions at his own company about wages, about contractors, about the people who disappeared between balance sheets. He returned to the bakery in the daylight, not as a savior but as a man willing to be present. He learned that Alina had once employed 12 people and paid them fairly, that she knew every regular by name. He saw potential not as a metric but as a human pulse. Change did not arrive all at once. It crept in like morning light. Adrian arranged for temporary housing and helped reopen the bakery as a community kitchen during the day. He did not put his name on the door. He showed up with rolled sleeves, learning to knead dough badly, laughing at his own incompetence. Noah came too, his laughter filling the space, two boys discovering that friendship can bloom even in cracked places. The neighborhood noticed. People volunteered. Someone donated an oven. Another taught bookkeeping. The bakery smelled like hope again. Suspense hung not in whether money would appear but in whether trust would hold. Alina struggled with accepting help, fearing the day it might be taken away. Adrian struggled with the board, with accusations of distraction and misplaced priorities. He stood his ground, not with speeches but with results, showing that companies rooted in compassion do not collapse, they grow deeper roots. The afternoon the bakery officially reopened under a cooperative model. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and Micah stood taller, pride replacing apology in his posture. Near the end of this journey, when the camera of life pulls back, it is tempting to crown heroes and close the book. But the truth is quieter and more enduring. Adrian did not fix poverty. Micah did not become a symbol. Alina did not transform into a headline. They became neighbors, collaborators, people who chose not to look away. The city kept humming, deals kept closing, but somewhere between noon and dusk, a line had been crossed, and it was not a market threshold but a moral one. If this story has reached into your chest and stirred something tender, please take a moment now to like, comment, and share this video so others can feel it too. Stories only live when they are carried forward by open hearts. Before we close, here is a special request from gentle hearts. Please comment the word bread below if you believe no one should ever have to ask for expired kindness. Your voice matters more than you know. On a bright afternoon much later, Adrian stood outside the bakery watching Micah explain fractions to Noah using loaves cooling on a rack. He felt the sun on his face and understood that success measured only in numbers is starvation of another kind. Somewhere in the city, someone would ask for help again tomorrow. The difference now was simple and profound. Someone would hear them.